I wasn't planning on doing this, but while I was preparing for today's podcast, I stumbled upon something in YouTube Studio which I found very, very interesting, and it is AI related. I don't know if I'm part of a beta test or if this is widely available, but in your analytics section, there is a new section called Inspiration. I believe this is available to everybody. When you click on this, it tells you what people who watch your channel are looking for. So in this case, for the Bandrew Says podcast, people are looking for YouTuber podcast, positive content on YouTube, brand content YouTube. They're showing some videos that might inspire me on what video to make next. So don't ask Google's AI for advice. Our AI, a lot of AI stuff here apparently. There's Tom Buck. Always happy to see Tom Buck. We have an SM7B. You get the idea. Gives you a bunch of videos and topics that may inspire you to make a new video. But the thing that I stumbled across, which I found interesting, I will click on one of the topics they recommended to me, which is positive content on YouTube. And then at the very top, it says create outline. So I want to go ahead and allow the AI on YouTube, Google's AI, to generate an outline for me about about positive content on YouTube. So let's go ahead and click that. It is thinking, it is generating. And what do we get? They couldn't generate an outline for this topic. Well, that is very negative. So I'm going to make negative content on YouTube. Let's go ahead and try a different one because I know it worked here. If we click on YouTube algorithm, it tells you how popular that topic is amongst your audience. So this is not a popular topic. So perhaps I should avoid that in the future. Let's click create outline. It already did this for this topic. Gives you a few points. So the outline that it generates is how the YouTube algorithm works, why the algorithm exists, what are the different algorithms, how to game the algorithm, and the conclusion. And for each of these topics or each of these headlines, it gives you 3 bullet points. It's not going to provide you a full outline. I could not make a video with this information. But I think it's fair. I think this would be a decent way to start working on a video because I think that is a good flow for the discussion. If I wanted to make a podcast about the algorithm, how the algorithm works, why the algorithm exists, what are the different types of algorithms, how to game it or how to succeed in it, and then have a conclusion. Like that is a perfect flow for a podcast. But each of the points they give per headline isn't very helpful. You would need to do quite a bit of additional research on each of these topics to make a show or a video with any amount of value, because how the algorithm works, they give the algorithm's goals, the algorithm's factors, how the algorithm works. So the answer to how the YouTube algorithm works is how the algorithm works. I mean, so it's not perfect, but I think that's kind of interesting. Let's go ahead, just for good measure, let's go ahead and see what another one would be. Let's not do YouTube. Let's look up best warm audio mics for vocals. No, best Neumann. No. Best warm audio mics for vocals, and we will create an outline and see what it says. Because this I know something about. Warm audio review. Oh, okay, it's actually about the microphone. I don't care about that. Now let's try to actually type in a prompt here and see what we get. Best podcast microphones. And let's go ahead and let this create an outline and see how close it gets. All right. Rode PodMic versus Rode Procaster. Build quality, sound quality, ease of use, and price. Huh. So the first header is comparing the two popular podcast microphones from Rode. determine which mic is better for you, find out the best microphone for your podcasting needs. I mean, yeah, but best podcast microphones, why are they limiting it to Rode? That's a questionable decision because there are plenty of other brands that make fantastic microphones that would fit the role of podcasting mic. Build quality, sound quality, that is also very important. Ease of use, yes, important. They're both plug-and-play XLR microphones, so they're the exact same. And price, there is a little bit of a difference there. So kind of disappointed in that one. Let's try one more, best vocal microphones. I'm doing this because I know about these topics and I can criticize it and determine if it's accurate or not. Okay, comparison of 5 popular wide dynamic microphones. But that is the first header, polar pattern test, handling noise test, untreated room test, comparison of isolated tracks. First off, these are what I do. They are taking my tests, which I like. Okay. Shure SM58, SM48, MD421, Sennheiser E835, and SE4400A. Okay, couple things here. First off, again, why dynamic microphones? I asked for vocal microphones too. SE4400A is a large diaphragm multi-pattern condenser microphone, not a dynamic microphone. Also, why the SM48? SM58, E835, I get that. Why not SEV7? Why the 421? Very interesting decisions there. As I said, polar pattern test, handling noise, that is all stuff that I do. It looks like they just copied my timestamps from a podcastage review. Tone, rotation test, plosive test, distance test, proximity effect test, background noise test, microphone bump rejection test, mic resonance tap test, cupping the mic test. They are just copying my timestamps, my tests, vocal comparison, instrument comparison, and then overall comparison. So there you go. That is a new feature in YouTube Studio. I saw that you can allow AI to actually generate an outline for you, and I had to share that with you because that is big news, dude. That is big news. We're going to see a lot more low-effort content coming up soon. Yahoo! Okay, that's it. So what are my overall thoughts on this AI video outline generator in YouTube Studio? First thing I want to say is I really don't mind that it's essentially copying the outline and the tests that I include in my microphone reviews, because I think including those tests in all microphone reviews is beneficial for the end consumer. Also, all of the tests require the person making the video to physically have the microphone, so they can't just make a listicle. Because if they're basing it on that outline, you can't do a polar pattern test, a resonance test, a background noise rejection test without having the microphone, which again, I think is a net positive for the end consumer because they would now be getting another review or a listicle. But that listicle or review would be generated using the actual microphone that is being covered. So I don't actually mind that. I'm just having a bit of a goof, a bit of a gaffe, because I found that kind of shocking because I'm just a dope in a spare bedroom, yet that's my outline. Pretty interesting. I think that the outline and the formatting is fine, but some of the information within the outline is a bit weird. If you use the outline for the best vocal microphone prompt, the actual tests that it suggests that you do are all good. And that's no surprise that I'm saying that because, as I pointed out, those are the tests that I do. Over a decade, I have developed that set of criteria, that set of tests to provide people the best information. So I think the outline or the tests they recommend are good. But the microphone selection is very weird. I can kind of understand the SM58, the E835, because those are incredibly popular microphones. The MD421, I think that may be a more popular tom microphone as opposed to a vocal microphone, but I know people swear by it for vocals, so I think that's fine. The SM48, I start to question it a bit more because why? There are many much better microphones than the SM48, and clearly price is not a factor here because the next microphone they recommend is the SE4400A, which I love. I think that microphone is fantastic. The value you get out of it is crazy. But the best vocal microphone? There's no Neumanns in there. There's no Lewitts in there. There's no Lautens in there. There's no Telefunkens in there. There's no Rhodes in there. Just a very curious list there. Not the microphones I would select for the best vocal microphones. Maybe best podcasting microphones. This would be a list for best podcast, and you could argue that these are the best podcast microphones. But overall best vocal microphones, I'm not sure. And in the AI generated tool thing, they do have a disclaimer at the bottom of the screen. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going to pull that up and I will read it to you because I think this is essential for anybody using this to remember. Experiment. AI-generated content varies in quality, may be inaccurate or inappropriate. Use discretion before you create or use anything provided. Not professional advice. So I think that is good that they have that disclaimer there. I hope people take that to heart. I don't think this is a nefarious tool. I don't think it will actually lead to a huge influx of low-effort content because it is just an outline. It's not developing an entire script. So if you use any prompts here, you're still going to have to do research. You're still going to have to go and create a script and do a bunch of additional outlining and gather the information to make it an actual video because this just gives you bullet points. I'm sure some people will take this, then go drop it into ChatGPT or some other AI tool, and then that's how they'll make their low-effort content. But as far as inspiration, as far as being a YouTuber and trying to consistently make new videos, I don't see any real issue with this. Just be very hesitant about it because when I was looking at a topic that I don't know much about, I was thinking, hey, that's a pretty interesting outline. But then once I plugged in a topic that I know a lot about, microphones, that's when issues started to arise, or I started to notice those issues, and it became much more apparent. I actually had to look this up, but there is a theory or an idea about this. It's called the Gell-Mann amnesia effect, and what that refers to is if you're reading a newspaper and you're an expert on the topic of the article, you'll be able to point out all the issues with it. You would say, that's BS, that's BS, that's BS, this article is trash, and it is completely wrong. But then you'll turn the page and read the next news article and say, oh, okay, I believe that because news is trustworthy. You've just forgotten how inaccurate the article you read is, and you trust the next article completely. So that's kind of what was going on here. I was looking at an article which I knew nothing about, or an outline that I knew nothing about generated by this AI, and thinking, yeah, that seems good enough. But then when I looked at an outline generated on a topic that I know something about, I was saying, yeah, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Very weird decision there. So that kind of applies here. I don't think it's the most nefarious tool. I think it's going to be fine. Maybe I'll use it. Maybe I'll use it a little bit later in this video. We'll see.